Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of YO28 Arsenal Roundup News. My name is Richard Espinoza and I am your host. We are your primary source for Second Amendment news, whether if it's good, bad, or ugly, whatever legislation that's being passed in your state, whether it be here in the great state of Wyoming or all other states in the United States, we keep you informed so that you know what is going on with your Second Amendment rights. Well, today is a call of action, and I am reaching out to every gun owner of America to join me into the fight in fully annihilating and eliminating the ATF once and for all. And for those of you who live in the state of Missouri, you have a friend in Congressman Eric Burlison of the 7th District. Congressman Burlison of Missouri is pushing and aiming to fully eliminate the ATF and put them out of business once and for all. So for those of you who live in the state of Missouri, I encourage you to call Congressman Burlison and thank him for his support in making every effort as possible to fully eliminate the ATF, because they are a rogue agency and they need to be eliminated. Also, I'm making a call of action to all gun owners to please write a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi. On social media, on Facebook, the National Association of Gun Rights, you go to their page and you can sign a petition to Attorney General Bondi, whether it be on Facebook or on the National Association for Gun Rights website, to encourage Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate all the states that are violating our Second Amendment rights. So it is important that we do so, and it's also important that we remind Attorney General Bondi that she took an oath with her right hand, both as the officer of the court and the officer of the law. She raised her right hand and swore that she will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Once you raise your right hand, your oath is your bond, and you will be held accountable to your bond. Now, I have tremendous respect for Pam Bondi. She's done a great job putting away dangerous criminals, but she needs to keep her promise that she would provide the Second Amendment task force and go after states that are violating our Second Amendment rights. In order to remind her to do that, you need to write her a letter and also sign the petition. We also need to remind FBI Director Kash Patel that he also made a commitment to destroy and to put away the ATF. Last year, Kash Patel was at GOA Goals, which is Gun Owners Advocacy Leadership Summit, where they teach people how to fight and defend their Second Amendment rights and what steps they need to do in order to protect their Second Amendment rights. Kash Patel has been a staunch ally of the Second Amendment. I know in some ways it doesn't seem like it, but in reality, he really does stand up for our Second Amendment rights. He spoke a lot of truth last year at Goals in Knoxville, Tennessee. So it's important that we also write to Kash Patel and tell him that he must partner with Attorney General Bondi and to fully dismantle the ATF. Remember, it's important that you make your voice heard, whether if you live in a blue state or red state, whether your representatives, Congress, or in the U.S. Senate are for or against your gun rights. Still call. The more phone calls you make, the more they know that their job could be jeopardized if they don't pay attention. So again, it is important that you tell your elected officials to join Congressman Eric Burlison to help dismantle the ATF and end their lawlessness. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a letter I wrote to Pam Bondi, and I'm going to be mailing it out. So what I would like you to do is I'll read you this letter I have. and it says, "Dear Madam Attorney General, I am writing on behalf of the law-abiding gun owners who are concerned about the abuse of power by the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms and Explosives. For over 30 years, law-abiding gun owners have witnessed the ATF's unlawful abuse of power under 4 different presidential administrations, from incidents such as Ruby Ridge, Waco, Texas, and Operation Fast and Furious, and the tragedy of Brian Malowski. These tragedies happened under the watch of President George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. To this day, these administrations have not taken any accountability for the corruption of the Justice Department from their past attorney generals. For 16 years, the family of slain Border Patrol agent Brian Terry has not gotten justice due to the cover-up by former Attorney General Eric Holder. The previous presidential administrations under President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris has used the ATF to weaponize against law-abiding gun owners, led by former rogue ATF Director Steve Denzelback. On behalf of the American gun owners, we are requesting that you meet with President Trump to permanently abolish the ATF and ensure that every ATF agent from the Biden administration is no longer allowed to serve in law enforcement again. You have committed with FBI Director Kash Patel about starting a Second Amendment task force against elected officials who violate the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. So far, nothing has been done, especially in Colorado, California, New York, Washington State, Oregon, New Mexico, Massachusetts, which has repeatedly violated our Second Amendment rights. My former governor from my former state of California, Gavin Newsom, is the reason why I moved to Wyoming, because of my rights being violated. It is unfair that people have to move out of their home state just to be free and to move to a state that respects their constitutional rights. Furthermore, if nothing is done to stop the ATF's lawlessness, I will bring this to the attention of Congresswoman Harriet Hagman and U.S. Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, and have them investigate your failed promises. The ATF should be completely abolished and no longer exist. The American gun owners have support from Missouri Congressman Eric Burlison, who is pushing to put the ATF out of business once and for all. Let me say, Madam Attorney General, you have my deepest respect for the years as a prosecutor. You have put away some of the most dangerous criminals on the street, and I commend you for that. However, let me remind you that you took an oath with your right hand, both as the officer of the court and the officer of the law, that you will protect and defend the United States Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Your oath is a pledge of truth and justice. You cannot back out of it. I am looking forward to hearing your response to my letter. Sincerely, Richard Espinoza. So it may do something or it may not do something, but at least I could say that I did something. And it's like Jarrett from Guns and Gadgets says, we are our own worst enemy when we don't do something about it. So it's important that we do something about it, and we got to get our friends who are pro-Second Amendment to write letters to Pam Bondi. Wherever you may live in the United States, take a few moments of your time to write a letter to Pam Bondi, and if anybody is interested in a copy of my letter, I can email it to you, and then you can put your name on it and then sign it. So it's important that you do something about it. And that is the problem with some of the attitudes of gun owners of today. Some say, well, voting's not going to do anything for me. Talking to my congressman ain't going to do anything for me. Well, let me remind you what happened back in 1994. We were under the lawlessness of the Bill Clinton administration in 1994. Bill Clinton violated the rights of American gun owners, and he thought he was so slick that he was going to get away with it. But we sent a powerful message to Bill Clinton in 1994 when we defeated his gun control allies. We even defeated the incoming Speaker of the House, Tom Foley, who fell down in defeat. And because of Foley's support for gun control and violations of our Second Amendment rights, Tom Foley was voted out. So it can and it will happen, but it takes you. You have to be active. You need to be involved. You cannot stop thinking negative, thinking that your voice doesn't matter or your voice doesn't matter. It does matter. You got to take the time and be a part of the process. I'm doing my part. So should everybody else who owns firearms like me. Remember, freedom isn't free. And there's always a price tag when it comes to freedom. And that price is I'm taking a few moments of my time to write a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Either she'll read it or she won't read it, but at least I can say I did something. I did my part. How about you? Take the time to do your part. And you'd be surprised how things can be done. So remember, if you live in a red state, make sure you call your congressman, call your senator, and tell them to join Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson into abolishing the ATF. If we can get a lot of members of Congress who support our Second Amendment rights to agree to sign the petition or try to pass a law to fully dismantle the ATF, we could make a huge accomplishment. Because if you saw what happened in the past with the ATF, with Ruby Ridge. Now again, Randy Weber wasn't a great person by no means, but the fact that his due process was violated. And that was violated under the George H.W. Bush administration. You saw what happened under the Clinton administration with Janet Reno, with Waco, Texas. Now again, David Koresh was not a good person, but his due process was violated. That means the ATF could do it to somebody who's not half the scumbag as David Koresh is. You saw what happened in the Barack Obama administration, with Eric Holder not being held accountable for what happened to Border Patrol agent Brian Terry under Operation Fast and Furious. Then you saw what happened under the Biden administration when Brian Malowski was shot and killed by ATF agents. The ATF did not introduce himself or told him that he was there. This is a perfect example on why we must get rid of the ATF. They are a lawless, useless organization who violates our constitutional rights. Although there has been talks that the ATF could be possibly merged with the Food and Drug Administration. In other words, they clearly dissolved, but all the agents that work in the ATF will now work for the FDA. If anything, any ATF members who served under the Biden administration should be immediately fired and removed and no longer practice in law enforcement ever again. These are the people who were responsible for violating our constitutional rights. We all saw what the ATF did. They're unelected bureaucrats who pass laws without Congress's permission. They're no different than the redcoats that the Masons fought during the Revolutionary War, and they're no different than the Nazi red shirts that many law-abiding Jewish gun owners were fighting up against during the time of the Holocaust. That, you could combine those two. That's what the ATF is all about. They're all about tyranny. They violate your rights. So it's important we stand up to them and tell the ATF you need to go out of business. That is where you come in and talk to your elected officials and tell them to vote for a solution to help get rid of the ATF once and for all. Bring in a bill, have them pass a bill called the Abolish ATF Act. And furthermore, once the ATF gets abolished, we need to get rid of the Gun Control Act of 1968 and the Machine Gun Act of 1938. Those need to be abolished because the Constitution says what it says and it says what it means. As the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to secure a free state, the right, the key word is the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And to make sure those words that our founding fathers lived by and produced for us under our Constitution, we must get rid of the ATF once and for all. So remember, call your congressmen, your senators, whether they're pro-gun or anti-gun, it doesn't matter. At least you call, because means that they'll be on notice. They will know that they have gun owners within their district who will vote against them if they don't wise up. It's important that we hold our elected officials accountable because, again, President Trump was elected to fix the mess in America. He was the one who chose Pam Bondi to be the Attorney General. He was the one who chose Kash Patel to be in charge of the FBI. And any failures they make will be on President Trump as well. And as much as I like President Trump, he may not be the best person as far as his personal life goes, but he has everything he has for us to offer for us to move America forward. And that's important. Forget about his past, what he was accused of. It's what he can do. And he is leading America to the right path by standing up against the corruption that Washington, D.C. is doing. So now it's up to us to furthermore get rid of the other corruption that is going on, and that's the ATF. So it's up to you. And what I just did was write a letter to Pam Bondi, and I will continue to call Harriet Hageman, who is my congresswoman in Wyoming, and Senator John Barrasso, and let them know that if Pam Bondi's not doing her job and not doing what she promised, I will request them to investigate Pam Bondi, and she must answer to Congress and Senator and to the Senate for the reasons why she's not doing her job. Because remember, your oath is your bond. And again, I respect Pam Bondi for what she's done as an attorney general and as a prosecutor. She got rid of some of the most dangerous criminals off the street. She prosecuted a lot of rapists, a lot of murderers, and she's doing a great job getting rid of the illegals who are harming our communities. But however, if she's not doing her job, what she promised to do, I will make sure she'll be held accountable, and so should you. Well, that is it for today for YO2A Arsenal Roundup News. If you have any legislation in your state that you want to be brought to my attention, whether if it's good or bad, please send me an email at rjespinoza, that's ESPINOZA .roundupnews@gmail.com. Tell me what state you are from. Tell me about what the legislation is about. Is it good? Is it bad? or how will it benefit your Second Amendment rights, or how it will affect your Second Amendment rights. That's what I'm here for you. Help me help you become your voice. That's what I'm here for. Well, that is it for tonight. So, to all my fellow Americans out there, remember, be wise, be armed, be vigilant, protect your home, your family, your loved ones with your community, because that's what the Second Amendment is for. It gives you the power to protect and defend your community and loved ones. Have a great day.